Okay, so what we have is a dry dropper. Tapered leader I'm going to explain to you a little bit later on. It's kind of a more aggressive, longer taper, but definitely need a more aggressive leader, in my opinion, when you're casting wind-resistant indicators, or in this case, wind-resistant dry flies. I'm going to pre-treat this. This is just a chubby Chernobyl with a fluorescent post, so you can see it. Just kind of let that bake in there for a moment, and let's get to work. So we're doing a dry dropper, 2 nymphs. When I'm fishing multiple flies under a wind-resistant indicator or dry fly in this matter, heaviest fly for me almost always goes on point. It just tangles less. If I put the heavier of the 2 flies, nymphs, on the top dropper and a lighter on the point, I have a tendency of just fouling, getting tangled. It could be the result of piss poor casting, but normally to keep and reduce tangles, I'm going to put the heaviest fly on the point. And then I have a lighter weight, really lightweight fly here on the dropper. This is a little Rainbow Warrior. It's something a little flashier, just to kind of fish higher in the water column. So the key here, I think, anytime you're indicator fishing, any sort of nymphing in general, is when I'm making my cast, I'm casting more parallel. I'm looking to get both nymphs landing straight upstream of my dry fly. When that happens, I know the indicator puts the nymphs under immediate tension and I have control. I'm not looking for a high or a really deep presentation right here. This is heavier pocket water. Just like here, anytime that line hesitates, we set. But I'm just looking to kind of get that alignment. If I see my flies kicking off to either side, I need to clean up my cast or just make a better presentation. So dry fly, nymph, and then the heaviest fly land directly upstream of the indicator, giving me control. In a pocket water like this, I'm going to high stick this anytime I can. This is why I like fishing this beefed up leader system, but anytime I can keep more line leader off the water, the better. This reduces drag, gives me more line leader control. Anytime you have to put line leader on the water, it just creates more management and more drag. Making this cast tight. Dropping that right on in there. Now my indicator is moving fairly fast. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make maybe an adjustment here in just a moment. Maybe go into a slightly heavier fly. But when I'm fishing water like this that has a nice chop on the surface, but I know has some slower pockets or some slower seams underneath the hydraulics here, I'm looking to have my indicator going slightly slower. I know I have a decent presentation. Nymphs are landing straight upstream. So in just a moment here, I'm going to probably just add a little weight or go to a slightly heavier fly. And anytime I can, indicators, wind resistant indicators and split shots, for me, create the biggest tangles. So anytime I'm dry dropper fishing, I almost always try to avoid using split shot. And if I need to add weight, I just go to a heavier fly. There are some times where yes, you do need to use some split shot, but when possible, just try to go to a heavier fly. It just becomes far less troublesome in regards to casting, and especially when a fish, if you hook a fish, lucky enough to hook a fish, it's going to tangle less during the fight. So this is just one bead heavier. So we had a 2.5 millimeter and then went up to a 3.0. See if this slows things down for us a little bit. We don't need a lot of weight, just enough to slow things down. And there we are. So there's just a simple little weight adjustment. You know, this is, you know, often with fishing, there's no magic formula. There's often just these little tiny details. Nice little wild brown. Yeah, good, long distance release. But the whole point here is this, is that fish in many situations are not going to be willing to meet you halfway in the water column. You need to get down to them. Years of evolution have taught them to be efficient with their feeding. So when they are on the bottom, we too must be on stream bottom. All right. Again, like this longer leader. Making this cast, reaching. It's what we call walking dog. If you want to extend your drift a little bit, you can actually make a cast and kind of walk with the drift a little bit. Line leader. Make a better cast, get those flies more parallel in line with the indicator fly. This is more like a tight line cast. When I'm making the cast, I'm aiming up, trying to keep as much line and leader off the water as I possibly can. So really nothing but the indicator fly lands on the water. Get set up, make the cast. Try not to rush your cast. Fishing multiple flies, this is where tangles often occur. Especially when you miss a fish like this, like I just did, you try to quickly turn, recover. Don't. Just get set up, regain composure, reach, line leader control, grab that line, get set. That was bottom. So when we go up to the head of these runs, head of a riffle, action happens fairly fast. So we just need to make sure as soon as the cast is made, we have control and contact and ready to set the hook. Cast, rod tip up, and lead. Again, this stuff happens very, very fast, usually in this water type. The takes are a little more aggressive, so we need to be ready. Reach, line leader control, hold it right there in that pocket. One of the keys to fishing pockets is keeping the rod tip and as much line leader off the water as you can. One of the things you don't want to do in this water is lay the line leader in the water and get a bad cast, get drag. Cast and lift. Keep as much line off the water as you can. Now hold it right there in that pocket. There we go. Again, head of a run. When fish are in this water type, they're here usually for one reason and one reason only, and that's to feed. So just be ready. Nice little brown. Thank you. So the idea when you're fishing water like this is you try and keep as much line leader off the water as you possibly can. We're working individual seams and pockets. And what you don't want to do is lay the rod tip down on the water and then try to pick up the line leader after the cast is made. By even placing a couple inches of line in a different speed current, it's going to immediately pull back and cause drag right here, and then I lose basically half my drift, and then finally I'm in control at the very end. The key is stopping high, keeping line leader off the water from the very beginning, and leading the presentation. So just avoid drag at all costs. Again, we're just going to stop the rod tip high, reach, keep the rod tip high, and just follow that indicator. We're just high sticking this indicator fly. That's all we're doing. And that's one of the best tips I can give you for fishing any pocket water scenario. Indicator fly, Euro, even dry flies, even streamers. Keep as much line leader off the water as you can. Stopping high on the forward stroke. There's a fish, missed. There we go, there's a better fish. Drop her right in that pocket. Again, that's piss poor strike detection there. I was a little late there, but pocket water, one of the best tips. Again, it's about line of sight. It's about accuracy. We have a narrow little pocket. Trying to get indicator and both flies in the same speed current is critical. We don't want to cast off to the side of the hip. We want almost like you have a firearm or pistol. It's line of sight, hands in front. Same thing when I'm casting here. My hands in front, I point the index finger and thumb to where I want my flies to go, and I make the cast. But keeping that hand in front is really good and accurate when you're trying to make pinpoint cast in narrow water types. Just one of those examples. This is Not an overly complicated cast or presentation, but it can be a little bit more challenging. We have a nice little seam on the far side of this overhanging limb and then kind of this dangling brush. This is what you can call like a hero cast. And you know, sometimes you get antsy, you want to hit this first, you make a bad cast, you get stuck. You can break off the flies, or in my case, walk over and have to retrieve your flies. So fish all the water that you need to before you hit this hero situation. So if you do mess up, which is the case what I do quite often, at least you don't have to break off your flies. You can fish everything else, and then if you do hang up because you make a bad cast, then you can walk over, retrieve your flies, and not have to worry about messing up the rest of the water. Cast, reach. Not bad, not great. All right, cast here, reach, hold the line over. A little more inside towards me. Nope. There we go, make a little mend. Yeah. Even just a little more inside. On the limb, nope. That's what I'm talking about right here. If you do get stuck, dangle. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Make the cast. Mend. Now we're going to work the farther side now. But this is where fish hold. Don't be afraid to go into these spots, because as my mentor, Mr. Humphrey, says, the worst thing that can happen is you lose a fly, which is not life-threatening. Or in this case, just have to retrieve your fly. But this is where a lot of your bigger fish will hold, so you have to go to them. And if you get stuck and look like an ass in front of everyone else, so be it. But don't be afraid to take a few risks.